Hey, welcome along. Thank you for joining me once again. This is Project Pod. I'm Richard. We're on episode number 10. I can't even believe how quick this has gone. It felt like a week ago when I started doing this podcast. So anyway, my guest today is Tim Ahad. He's my cousin. He's the Bradfordian Elon Musk. He's the owner of Electric Motion Limited. We get into everything electric vehicles, pollution, the environment since COVID lockdown. And then we also get a little bit self-indulgent because we've got a mutual love for UFC. So we break down the UFC 249 card, which is around the corner this coming weekend. So everybody, Mr. Tim Ahad. Bradford Musk, welcome to the show.
Easy, cuz. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Of course, I can't not have you on. So, as you've just given away there, you're actually my cousin. We obviously grew up together. There's a lot to talk about. So I think this is going to be quite nostalgic as well, because even though we're cousins, we're still 90 miles apart, and we don't actually spend as much time together now. I've obviously moved away from the area, so.
Yeah, when you betrayed your Bradfordian roots and
up and left, yeah. I mean,
up and left.
5-year-old, I just made that decision. I thought it was time.
Well, this is it. You have to spread your wings, didn't you?
So, right, I want to start off with, you haven't listened to any of the podcasts I've done so far. I
haven't, no. Reason being, I didn't want to be influenced by your previous guests, and you've had some proper guests on. I think even if they were golden podcasts, I'm a bit what if mine's shit. So I didn't want to put any pressure on myself, and I didn't want to sort of have any ideas, really. Just jump straight in and just get into it.
I like it. And what's good about this is that first segment, if you like, is what I like to call get acquainted with the guest. So pretty much a quick fire question round. I'm going to throw 10 questions at you. First 3 are pretty standard. Then after that, you're going to have to think on your feet a little bit. So if you're ready, Tim, we'll go for it.
Fire away.
Right, full name.
Timothy Zamal Ahad.
I didn't even know that.
That surprises everyone.
Occupation.
Whoa, that's a tricky one. Vehicle technician, electrician, and all-round grafter.
Multi-talented. If you could eat at one restaurant right now, where would it be?
It'd be Kipling's.
Kipling's. What's Kipling's?
It's an Indian restaurant just down the road from us. Absolutely spot on, mate. They do lamb champ starter, do a nice chicken madras, and they do all your usual sort of dessert sweets and everything. You can just go there, get a proper fill. They do big 5, you know the next one up from a pint, those big kingfishers. What's that picture? Is it? Mean. Yeah, I think it's just between a pint and a pitcher. Then it's just sort of hovering there. I don't quite know what, but they're just it's a spot on restaurant. Never had a bad meal, and it's absolute class.
Kipling. All right, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat?
How dare you even ask? Street Fighter all the way, Ryu.
Hadouken.
I am Ryu.
What advice would you give to the 18-year-old you?
Stop messing about. Crack on. I wasted a lot of time.
Good answer. If you could trade lives with anybody for a day, who would it be and why?
With anybody for a day? Wow. Probably, well, he's passed away now, but I would have said Bruce Lee, but can't really trade lives with somebody who's passed away.
Well, yeah, because if you were trading lives with him, you'd have been trading lives with him when he was alive, I suppose. So, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, just go around just kung fu, kicking ass and just back kicking people in the face, you know what I mean? Just picking up road rage for no reason so I can Bruce Lee someone.
Sound. And then, all right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me a joke.
What's ET short for?
Well, I'm going to say extraterrestrial.
Nah, he's got little legs.
Save or spend?
Save. Asian roots, bro.
What quote do you live by?
What quote do I live by?
Be like water.
At the moment. Yes, be like water. Grasshopper. At the moment, it's one of Warren Buffett's old quotes where he said, don't ever have just one revenue stream coming in. Make sure you've got multiple revenue streams coming in.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't even know who Warren Buffett is.
Multi-millionaire.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? If he's got multiple revenue streams coming in.
Self-made man, though. He's got. If you ever get a chance to check out his backstory, it's interesting.
Especially saying that you weren't ready. What did you say your middle name was? Because I didn't even know.
It's Zamal. Zamal. Come on, then. What's your middle name? Sure, I didn't know that either. So we both learned something today.
Yeah, it should have been. Yours sounds a little bit more exotic than mine. Obviously, Bengali roots and that. Mine was because obviously, Uncle Rick. He's Stuart as well, so I was named pretty much directly after him.
Just thought, you know what? Should we just name him after?
And obviously, there's our other cousin, Richard as well, who was born 20 days after me.
Yeah.
And they still went, well, fuck it, we'll call him Richard.
They must have been busy, mate. We ain't got time to ponder on names.
Too many
get shit done.
So, yeah, going back to your occupation, you're multi-skilled, multi-talented. And the reason why I'm calling you the Bradfordian Elon Musk is because of your leap of faith, I suppose, into your new business venture, which is Electric Motion Limited. Is that right?
It is, yep. Electric Motion Limited.
Speak a little bit about that. I mean, just give us a little bit of background about Electric Motion Limited or what it's about, and then we'll talk about this leap of faith.
Well, yeah. So as we've just covered, I started off as a vehicle technician. That's my bread and butter. That's what I did an apprenticeship in. So everything from servicing, repairing, and diagnosing faults with normal cars, so petrol and diesel. So when I was at Toyota, I worked on the first hybrid, which was Prius. And we were one of the first people to be trained on handling the high voltage side of the Prius, because obviously it has an high voltage battery pack. And that's where the interest came from, really, because it was a bit of a change from the normal sort of like 12-volt system, your battery alternator and changing bulbs, etc., moving on to a more high voltage. So that's where the seed were planted. And I always had an interest in electrics after that. Obviously, when I joined Infinity, I did further training. They sent me out to Cologne, where I again trained on electric systems, hybrid systems, high voltage systems. But I started seeing the switch then when I started to look at the emissions coming out of diesel engines and the mess and when you start stripping a diesel engine and you see all the shit inside, all that, and you think, you can't see it, but you are actually breathing that in, because just think about the amount of diesel engines out there and the amount of nitrous oxides coming out of it, and all the little fine particles that you can't see, but you're breathing it in. So they're fate sealed, mate. They are going. The problem you've got, making that shift to electric vehicles. The knowledge was there. I needed a little bit further training, but I needed to understand how you charge the vehicle as well. So in order to understand how you charge it, I had to become an electrician, which is basically an household electrician, a domestic sparky. Somebody would come out and replace your sockets, your lights, rewire your house. So the decision was made to retrain as an electrician, so I could not only understand the actual, because I already understood the electric vehicle, but I wanted to understand the system to charge the electric vehicle as well, which is the charge point. So that's where Electric Motion was born, basically, from that.
Okay.
So I trained to actually install the charge point into the house, understand how it works, so that if there was ever a problem when you hook the electric vehicle up to the charging point, I can cover the electric vehicle side, but I can also look at the household electric side as well. So I'd never have to call anybody in. I could just look at the whole package.
Yeah, how was that for you? Because I know quite a few mechanics in, as you call them, grease monkeys and stuff like that. And I know a lot of them. One I know in particular. I'm not going to name him, but I mean he's dead honest about it. And he's like, I don't know anything else. He's not good with technology, anything like that. So for you to go from doing that side of things, being a mechanic, getting under a vehicle, inside the bonnet, all that kind of stuff, and knowing that from a young age. Because how old was you when you became a mechanic?
That's 17.
It's kind of all that 17. Time knowing that, and then to go into electrics.
It was a big, I know where you're going with it. It was a massive learning curve, mate. It really was. And what you find with the Sparkies is there's a lot of legislation. Yeah. You can't just go into an house and stick a socket on or put a wire where you want it. You know yourself when you're running cables, and you've got to follow certain rules and regulations. But it's absolutely bogged down with legislation. So you've got the 18th edition and all that, 17th edition, 18th edition. Each one's an exam. Each one's a book you have to buy. That's 100 odd quid. You get like two shots at the exam, which if you fail, then it's another 100 odd quid. There's a lot of money to lay out. A lot of maths involved, which I was shit at maths at school. And a lot of it was coming back to some of the basic electrics that I got taught when I was at at college originally with Holmes Law and Watts Law and that kind of thing. It does start coming back to you, but it's hard work sitting in the classroom again when you haven't done it for, best part of 20 odd years, really. So longer. Yeah, but I got there. I did it. It was a learning curve, and it was hard. It was like 5 weeks of intense training. I'm going from fresh to not knowing anything about household electrics idly to becoming a fully qualified electrician. So yeah, it was hard.
So you did that over 5 weeks.
5 weeks, mate. Yeah, it was. The reason why I got the time off work was because it all landed in place perfectly for, because they made the redundancy notice, but they didn't realise I were already thinking about doing the training anyway and asking for extra time off. But because they made it redundant, the obligation is on them to say, well, you've got time to go and find another job, or you've got time to retrain if needed. So I used that angle to my benefit. So I said, well, this is what I want to do. I want to retrain as an EV charge point installer, and I want to do A, B, C, and D. It's going to cost A, B, C, and it's going to take this long. And this is what I want. So even though we're already going to do it that anyway, I managed to get the time off paid, and also got them to put a few quid towards training.
And lastly, so did they put you on garden leave then? Is that what happened?
I were on full pay while I were off, so I could have, if I'd needed to. Like, there were some days in between the training where basically you'd end the week on a 3-day week instead of a normal week, and then I'd go back into work and just do a little bit at work again and go back to training again.
That seemed to work out nice. So
it worked out well.
So I know what you worked at Infinity for a good chunk of time, I suppose. I know you've always been very self-motivated, and you've always wanted to strive, have your own business and do well in that, because you've had your own garages and stuff in the past. And then I was actually really surprised when I heard that you went to Infinity, because just knowing who you are and what you're about. But I suppose sometimes, and I've had my own business in the past and I'm employed now, but I think personally, you've got that sort of stability there being employed. You've got money coming in regularly. You don't have to worry about all your overheads and doing all your own taxes and all that kind of stuff. Is that the reason why you went employed? Is it?
It is. I mean, I hit absolute rock bottom when I self-employed. It were really, really good for about 2 or 3 years, and then it just went it nosedived. 2008, when they had financial crash, and everybody might say, well, it's just it's all banks and it doesn't really affect normal businesses, but it does. And then we also had the scrappage scheme as well. Don't you remember the scrappage scheme?
$2,000 for your old car or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So I traded through both of those. So the scrappage scheme were basically anybody who had a car over a certain age and it failed the MOT and it needed discs, pads, loads of expensive work, would just then take it to a dealer, scrap it, and get a brand new car on finance for 3 years. So that car was then gone out of the aftermarket. So all that work, that labour that I would have usually got and other garages would have usually got, just disappeared, and it was hard. So my business took a nosedive through that. And again, 2008, people were just scared people, because we're all over the news. So recession this, recession that, double dip recession. Everybody just stopped spending. So it got to the point where I had to clear probably about, I'd say, best part of $2,000 a month before I even thought about taking a wage home for myself. And I was working till 11, 12 o'clock at night sometimes as well. So it was just not sustainable. It were an hard decision to make, but I had to sell the garage, sell the business, and Infinity actually offered me a really good salary and a really good position at the time, which I couldn't refuse. We're in no position to refuse.
I mean, I understand. It's the media as well, and it scaremongering people. People don't want to spend money when they think, well, what if I need? People have got savings and stuff like that, and they don't want to spend anything that they I suppose feel unnecessary. Like you say, we finance free for 3 years and stuff like that. People, even though that's a big risk to do that, but at the same time, you've got these salespeople who make it sound really nice, and there's the likes of you, the small businesses really suffering. And it's amazing what's actually happened now, because in that time, I don't think businesses got enough support from the government. Yet I've heard some great stories about, since the coronavirus and the government have said that we're going to back people, back companies, even self-employed people. I've heard some really good stories about how, just a guy literally up the road from me, he only opened a barbershop about a year ago.
And I heard he's had like a 10 grand grant that he don't have to pay back. He's getting majority of the money that he was getting paid through his hairdressing. I mean, fortunately, he's putting his money through the books. I think a lot of self-employed people will be getting caught out because of fiddling the books in the past, and they can't obviously prove their earnings. So that's a bit of a kick. But sometimes I think doing the right thing and paying your taxes and keeping your books is, especially when something like this happens, it kind of pays off.
I think you're definitely right there. But the problem you've got is when you've got to be, they're very selective in who they're helping. Now, as a company director, I'm not classed as self-employed.
Okay, yeah, because you're a limited business.
So because I'm a limited company, I can't furlough myself because I'm the director of my own company. Granted, they are putting a lot of help out there, but the only help for me in terms of finances for them to turn around to me and say, you can have a loan. Now, that don't really help a business that's not got any money coming in, because it's okay offering somebody a loan that they're going to guarantee. Let's say you want to borrow 50 grand over 5 years. But if that business isn't trading now and is struggling now, how's that business then going to pay that loan back? So they aren't quite, you know what I mean? They're helping a lot of people, but the loan aspect of it for businesses that are already struggling, it don't really make any sense to me, because it's a lot. It's just money they've got to pay back. Now, if you could get access to a grant, fair enough, like your mate, that's a better thing. I'd definitely look into that if they had, if that was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough information about it, but it's literally something that I heard recently, and he's actually buzzing. Like, massive Boris Johnson fan now. Well, I got told that he got 2 10 grand grants, and I'm like, he earns a bar.
Well, I mean, I understand. Obviously, it's a specialist trade. Is it barbering? But is it the overheads and the equipment?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know. And I've heard like other people, friends of friends and stuff that have been looked after as well. But yeah, there's obviously I suppose it's such a hard thing. It's come kind of out of the blue, and for the government to be able to deal with everything that's going on, all businesses, and then work out how to sort of not be disruptive day-to-day runnings of industry.
Yeah, it's untrodden ground, isn't it? We've never been here before. We've never come across this before. But one thing's for sure: there's going to be a lot of businesses that fall flat on the face during this period. When this is over and done with, your local business advertisers, when you can go online and you can look at businesses for sale and premises for sale, they're going to be chock-a-block. There's going to be loads of businesses for sale after this that have just collapsed during this process. They might have already been on the verge of collapsing anyway. They might have had financial difficulties, trading difficulties, whatever. But this will sort of be the massive straw that breaks the camel's back. They'll go under, a lot of them. I'm lucky in a way because I've got a bit of sort of a good payout from Infinity to sort of tide me over, and I have got sporadic work coming in here and everywhere where I can pick up. Again, going back to not having one revenue stream, I've got a few different revenue streams, so I'll be able to ride it out, I think, hopefully. But I think a lot of people won't.
It's getting tough. It's definitely getting tough. But I kind of, what I'm seeing now, I don't know if you've seen it yourself, is that I feel like the general public have made their own minds up now and gone, fuck this lockdown. And people have started, like, the amount of cars back on the road and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely seen a lot more cars on the road. It's almost like you just said, the people thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go out anyway. I'm just going to crack on and do whatever I want. I said, when it first got mentioned, that first couple of weeks, I walked my dog just around this local area around Ecclesall, and you'd see, literally 28 days later, desolate. When you think
crazy, wasn't it?
Zombie apocalypse. But now it's just like an everyday normal. It's like a normal everyday traffic now. It seems to have gone back to normal.
And that's the thing as well. Like what you were just saying there about when you walk the dog and stuff like that. I don't know. I've started running again because I can't get to the gym, so I started running again. And what I noticed was like the sense of the flowers, the grass, the bushes. I was like, the air just felt so clear and thick. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing like dampening it down. There wasn't all that thick. And I live next to like a dual carriageway almost. So we get a lot of traffic coming past. It takes you to main routes. So there's a lot of lorries and things like that. And I've just noticed that everything smelt. And I don't know if that's because the air was clearer or.
I think it's the air. I really do. I think when you take a lot of diesels off of the road, it is mainly diesel. I mean, there is still petrols about, but it's mainly diesels now, especially heavy goods vehicles, buses, wagons, all that kind of thing. And I think I heard on the news over there as well, they did a test You know, you get these people who check the air quality in certain areas, and the air in this certain area where they checked, which were always toxic as fuck, basically, like a smog, was cleaner since before the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I mean, in London, they were saying, like, is it particulate matter, nitrogen dioxide levels and stuff like that were, like, massively dropped. And carbon emissions in China had dropped by 25% in 4 weeks. There's just so many things. The boat traffic, so they was talking about the Venice canals, and I've talked about this with somebody I had on the podcast before, and you could see the fish and everything because it was clear for the first time ever. But that's because in them canals in Venice, they have a lot of boats, don't they? There's a lot of people, like tourists on these boats. Because they were all not operating. Same thing. There was something in India. There was quite a few. I think it was like northern India. They were saying that they could see these mountains for the first time in 30 years or something. Surely this is the earth kind of telling you something. I'm not saying, like, I'm not being like religious. What I am trying to say is that there's an obvious impact here, and this is tying in quite nicely with what you're doing now.
It does. Yeah. When we're just on about particulate matter and emissions from vehicles, if just a short space of time of lockdown has cleared the air that much, just imagine what it'd be like if we do make the switch to electric. I mean, it's inevitable. It is happening anyway, but it's just going to be a gradual shift. But if we make that change to basically zero emission vehicles, your electric vehicle has no emissions at all, nothing. This is what it would be like. And I mean, we had like a 2 or 3 week block of I know it's probably a coincidence, but do you remember that first lockdown? And then the irony was, it were absolutely cracking flags. Yes. It was sunny. Everybody wanted to be 100%. Out. On lockdown. And it was like you said, like Mother Earth were just saying, you know what, this is what it could be like. But you fucked about when you've polluted me.
Well, as you know, my lad plays teach you a lesson. He plays for a team. He's played for a team since he was 7. And this season has been the worst season ever for games being called off because the rain's been shit, the weather's been really cold. I think out of somewhere in the region of between 25 and 30 games, they only played 6 because the weather's been that bad, the grass has been shit. Right. And then since that point of lock, because the weather is that.
I think it's definitely, it's got to be tied in with that. It's got to be. It's too much of a coincidence, mate. It really is. Now, it's a multi-million pound industry. They're going to fight it till the last bit of energy in them. They don't want to make that switch because it costs Texaco and BP and all these shell companies. Everything is there's just billions and billions and billions in it. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep it going. But it's inevitable. That switch is making its way. It is going to happen. One of the biggest problems is there's not enough charge points publicly available. If everybody were to make the switch tonight, obviously, there just would physically not be enough charge points. That's where my business idea came in, with trying to make sure that people can put the charge points basically outside their house in your drive and charge from home. It's the most intelligent way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it. And it's basically, you can leave your car on charge overnight, wake up every morning to a full. It's like waking up every morning and somebody's just topped your fuel tank up for you. And it's fully filled every single morning. Not just that, but a lot of electric vehicles now, you can program them to self-heat. So windscreen's already demisted. It's all warm, cabin's warm already for you. And you're ready to go. There's no messing about trying to defrost it in the winter because you can preheat it and you can do all that from an app on your phone. A lot of them now, Tesla and Nissan, have that. So it is going to be a lot easier when we do finally make that shift. It's just trying to convince people that they have this kind of range anxiety. Well, how long does a charge last and how far can I go on a charge? And, how many people know exactly how far you can go in your car when you're fully tanked? Could you tell me now how far you can go in your van when you're fully tanked it? A lot of people don't know the full range of the cars. Granted, there's petrol stations everywhere, so they don't need to at the moment. But if you're charging from home, I think that eliminates a lot of the anxiety people have.
No, honestly, though, I love Teslas. I want, I keep saying I want one, and then you think, they're very expensive. So they're going to come down eventually. The more, the mass produced, the more people that do make that switch. How do you feel, just going back to what you picked up on with the petrol stations, how do you think they would, I'm not saying that like you said, they're going to fight tooth and nail, but Do you think they can adapt? Do you think they can? Do you think it will come to a point? Because don't forget, the government, a majority of your pence per litre is actually tax. So, do you think the government will get involved?
Yeah.
And I don't know, stations start being, instead of being a petrol station, diesel station, being an electric charging station.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you already see it already with I think Shell's partnership with FAG. They're going to roll out. What the difference is, your petrol stations will be what you call your superchargers. So you're talking like 120 kilowatt chargers, whereas your home chargers are anywhere from 3 up to 7 kilowatt. So they're a little bit slower, obviously, because you're only on a smaller single phase supply in an house, whereas your petrol stations can have full 3-phase power. And it's like a rapid charger. It's a supercharger. So it's like, when you've got normal charging and fast charging on your phone. It's exactly the same principle, just throwing those electrons in it faster and faster and faster. So that's where they'll come in. So somebody can stop off 5-minute, 10-minute charge just to top it up, and then they're off again. Whereas your home charging is just leaving it on charge overnight on a slower, exactly, like a trickle charge. So it's topped up in morning. So it's full in morning for you. And if you do that, if you imagine, like, what's your current commute now to your office from home?
If there's no traffic, I could get that. Like this morning, I went to the office first time in 6 weeks, but just to help shift some stuff around, and I got there in 5 minutes.
Well, there you go then. So let's say a standard Monday morning then, without lockdown, without COVID, what would that be? Would that be
15,
10 minutes,
20 minutes?
15 minutes?
Yeah, with the traffic how it is at the minute. Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
And mine were, when I were working at Infinity in Leeds or Bradford to Leeds, about between half an hour and 45 minutes in the morning, and then same again on a night. So I reckon between 80 to 90% of the population, that's their commute on average. If you're charging from home and every morning you're getting up and that EV's 100% charged, you're never going to have to use a public charging station unless you're going on a long journey. So 90% of the time, you're never going to have to go to your rapid chargers or your superchargers, and etc. It's going to be enough, more than enough, to be able to go to work and back again. And the good thing is, if you've got workplace charging and they'll let you charge from work, and you can leave your vehicle outside of the office charging, which a lot of companies now are trying to put charge points at work as well, so that it's a bit more lucrative for employees to come and work there. If they've got an electric vehicle, they can leave it on charge. It's like a perk. You can actually do it where they call it vehicle to grid. So at the moment, you're charging your vehicle from the grid to your car. The power's going from the grid to your car. You can actually install a fuse box where, when you've got an excess amount of electricity stored in the battery in the car, you can actually switch the fuse box so that it starts to draw the energy from the car instead, and you can run your house with the battery of the car.
Yeah.
It's free electric. Yeah. Vehicle to grid. So it is a change. It's definitely something quite new. It comes along with the solar panels, being able to store the energy from the solar panel in a battery inside your house, and then use that battery to charge your car. Again, that's completely free. You're charging your car from the sun. There's a lot there to be explored. It's all new. It's all sort of the area where I'm trying to go into, and it's exciting stuff. It's definitely the way to go. I reckon.
Like I said, just going what we were saying earlier, just what the impact that this has all had. It's got to be. We've got to look at it now and go, do you know what? This is time to wake up. It's time to do something. I've never believed in all that greenhouse gases, and it's forced down your throat, even from school, from being. But for whatever reason, you don't want to believe it, because the convenience of being able to get somewhere in a car. It's all about convenience. We, as humans, we like things that are convenient. That's why the likes of Amazon have done so well, because they bring things to your doorstep. The way TV's gone, to be able to have Netflix, to be able to order food, you can do everything with a mobile phone. But that convenience, we can still have that same convenience as far as traveling is concerned, but do it economically.
I mean, a lot of people keep saying we need to save the planet. We don't need. The planet's absolutely fine. The planet, even if when we're all gone, the planet will still be here for billions and billions of years after. It'll recover. We're a little blip on the actual time frame of this planet. It's the human race that we've got to save, because at the end of the day, people are dying left, right, and centre from lung diseases and cancer and this and the other, and a lot of it, I reckon, is probably coming from the shit that we're breathing in. Yeah, I mean the planet, like I said, it's not nothing to do with saving the planet. I mean that'll be long after we've gone. It's just trying to make sure that there's, it's an habitable planet for a start, and that we can actually breathe the air that's around us. And like you said, mate, this has proved that it's cleaned the air up in just a short space of time.
Further to that is that there's only so much crude oil that we have available to us. It's going to run out, surely.
It's going to run out. Yeah, it's not got an infinite time frame on it. There's a certain amount left in the ground. You'll never find. They'll always lie about how much is left. Now it depends. When they start putting the prices up, that's when they start saying, well, there's only a limited amount left. It's harder to source, so that's why it's more expensive. But then when you start trying to push the electric vehicle agenda, don't worry about that. You don't need them. There's fucking loads left. There's hundreds and hundreds of years left. Yeah. So it depends who you ask when you ask them.
So I suppose it's a good time to get into that business. Is that the main reason you got into it, or was there something else? Did you feel like a moral obligation to support this, to back this? Did you start seeing that actually this is a really good thing, and this is what you were saying there is to keep the human race going?
A bit of both. I'm not a trail and to be honest with you, I'm a petrol head. I always have been, and I always will be. And I do diesels. I ain't got any time for, even though I've got a diesel van. But at the moment, it's just the only petrol I can use. But I think that there's a shelf life on them now, and they are going to be phased out. But it originally started when Zara, my youngest, she was part of a scheme called Born in Bradford, and they basically follow them from birth up, and then they'll, at every sort of milestone, they'll interview them and see how they're getting on and how their health is, etc., all that kind of thing. And they actually put an air quality sensor on the outside of his house. It looked like some out of frigging
I know a joke about
all these probes sticking out of it and pipes and everything. I bet you do. Yeah, someone's got little legs, but he's got It looked like it actually, when this contraption on outside of his house, it looked like we were fucking growing weed or something, because there were all these pipes and ducts and stuff like that. But when they actually did the results of it, it was shocking. The street, even though it wasn't even, I think you visited at his last house on Mount Terrace. It was just a little terrace street. It was not even a main road, it was just a little cut through. It were off the scale with the actual air quality in that area. And you did have a lot of taxis idling and people coming past, and it wasn't exactly busy, but for a small side street that were at a horrible amount of air, and you start to think, hell, my kids are breathing that in. Windows are open, they're breathing that in on a daily basis. And that got me thinking about air quality. I never thought about it.
Yeah, interesting.
Part of being a mechanic is you have to carry out MOTs on cars every now and again. You do what's called an emission test. Now, I used to do loads of diesel emissions tests, and basically what it entails is holding the throttle down all the way right up to stop for about 5 seconds, and then taking it off again, and doing that about 10 times. All this time, I were in a gar in the corner with no ventilation, and I'm literally flooring all these diesel engines over and over again, doing emissions tests on them. So I've probably only got about another 5 years left to live anyway from all that shit that's all in my lungs. So that gets you thinking about, you see all black soot everywhere, and you get you thinking about it. And then I start to see the transition of normal cars to electric cars, and I'm starting to think, that's my skill set. So changing spark plugs, changing clutches, changing timing belts, my skill set, my bread and butter is disappearing. If all these vehicles start to change to electric, I need to start learning.
See, I like that. You adapted. You decided, look, this is the way it's going to go. You made that choice, but at the same time, there was something in your mind that was making you think. And I tell you what, that was one thing that you said there about when you was revving those engines. And I live on the main road now as well. So what you've just said there about air quality.
Yeah, if you could see the smog in the air, it's invisible. That's the problem.
If you're saying where you lived, because I know where you lived, and it was nothing compared to this. I mean, I could honestly say, hand on heart, this road I live by now is 1,000 times worse than where you lived. And if you're saying to me that where you live was kind of scary for the amount of the air quality, the poor air quality, then here must be absolutely.
It will be, mate. It will be. And the problem is, you can put all the emission reduction systems on a diesel engine as you want. Like got diesel particulate filter, exhaust gas recirculation. Anybody who knows about engines and diesel will know what I'm talking about in that. They're all well and good while the vehicle's running okay in its first sort of 6 months of its life. But then all these systems start to clog up and not work properly, and you get engine check lights coming on and warning lights and this, that, and the other. And then what people start to do to get around it, rather than replacing expensive components, is they start start removing these emission reduction components, and they start remapping them so that the engine's control units start to think, well, it don't need to worry about emissions. And so after about 3 years of a diesel engine's life, after those 3 years, even before those 3 years, it's dirty. But after those 3 years, that is one toxic vehicle. It's pumping out some right shit. And all those manufacturer stated emissions that they give you when you sell you the car, they're out of the window, mate. After 3 years, that thing's that thing's chugging out some right cat.
So I've got a diesel outside now, and obviously I don't pay tax on it, road tax, because I was under the impression that it was clean.
Yeah, that the one where it's yeah, it's not. I guarantee it's not. What they should do, going back to what you're saying about how bad it is around your area with the smog, and going back to how bad my street was. I don't think anyone's ever done this, but it'd be interesting to see if they took the population of how bad the air quality is in a certain, and then looked deaths deaths and people with lung disease and cancer, and see if there were a correlation between a spike in how bad the air was and how many people got diagnosed with cancer in that area.
I don't want to know.
I bet there'd be a correlation. There'll be some. Anyway, so it's all doom and gloom, mate, when you talk about it like that. But that's why we need to clean the air, mate, and get these EVs bought and get me to fit those chargers, and we are all right. We'll save the world.
Hero. I'm gonna go to this ad break now, Tim, and then we'll come back and talk about something a little bit different. This podcast is sponsored by Beast and Bulk Nutrition. Train better, live better, be better. If you're looking to increase muscle mass, promote muscular endurance and increase strength, then Beast and Bulk Nutrition have the key ingredients to supplement your health and fitness program. With Creatine Bulk, made with the highest quality, purest creatine monohydrate, its potent 4,000 milligram servings will provide that extra pump and increase those muscle gains. Testo Beast. This testosterone booster is made up with 9 top natural and powerful ingredients, including ashwagandha, vitamin D, luteolin and zinc, which effectively help boost your testosterone levels, strengthen endurance. And then there's the Chaotic Beast. Chaotic Beast is a scientifically formulated pre-workout supplement providing the perfect balance of caffeine, creatine and branched-chain amino acids to kickstart your training sessions, giving you the focused and prolonged muscle endurance throughout. Its sour apple flavour makes it a more pleasurable experience compared to its market rivals. Visit the website beastandbulk.com or find them on Amazon using the promo code POD10 at the checkout for a 10% discount courtesy of Project Pod. That's POD10 at the checkout for a 10% discount. Beast and Bulk. Don't compete, dominate. Hey, we're back.
We're back, cuz.
What I want to talk to you about is UFC and MMA, because you and I have a mutual love.
We do indeed.
So we were supposed to actually go to Brendan Schaub, who nobody seems to know apart from us.
Big Brown. Big Brown.
I'm like, yeah, we're going to this comedy show. Obviously, we booked this, like, I don't know, 3 months ago. And he's American, ex-UFC fighter. He's kind of transitioned in. He does his own podcast. He does stand-up comedy, and he's coming over to the UK and Europe. He's doing a European tour. So we booked it. We're going to get to meet him, everything. And obviously COVID-19 hits, so we don't go. It's been rescheduled for next year. So we'll definitely, we'll be getting back together, and we'll do that next year. But yeah, I mean, it's funny that we talk about these things and people are like, who? Brendan, who's he?
Nobody I've ever spoke to other than you has heard of him.
But he's awesome, man. Like, I urge people to go check his podcast.
He's a funny guy. He's got some stories. But I tell you what, I did have visions of it. Us rocking up to that to his gig, and it just being me and you.
And him. Well, I mean, we did have meet and greet tickets, man. So we did just kind of listen. Just tell us your jokes over dinner, man. We'll just go out.
We'll probably end up going for a few beers around Birmingham City Centre.
Yeah, it'd have been good. Maybe next year he's going to be a little bit more well known, but who knows? Yeah. So, UFC 249 is actually happening this weekend, or at least it's supposed to be. I'd have thought by now that they called it off if it weren't going to happen.
It remains to be seen whether it's actually going to happen or not. But one thing I want to cover before we talk about 249, which are 2 words: Fight Island.
Fight Island.
What the fuck? You know what that reminds? You know what that is, don't you? Enter the Dragon. That's some Bruce Lee shit there. You put all these martial artists on an island.
Yeah.
And then Dana can be that evil boss who's basically killing everyone. That's Dana.
Yeah.
And then you've got that's some proper Bruce Lee shit.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I want to see, definitely.
There was a really poorly made film with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones in. What was about? I think they were all like prisoners, and it was a little bit Hunger Games style. So, you get let out of prison, but it's a fight to the death. And obviously, if you win, you're like the last man standing. That you become a free man. You're out of jail.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure it was called something Island as well. Same kind of shit. So
if it had Vinnie Jones in it, I'm sure it was top draw. Top.
Best film he's ever been in. Actually, my favourite film is Snatch.
Oh yeah, classic, mate. Classic.
Yeah, absolutely love that. But yeah, but this ain't taking place on Fight Island though.
I know this. This is a normal venue really, but it got me thinking with that Fight Island thing. I thought they were going to try and get around the COVID restrictions by doing it on a private island where everybody gets tested, so that they know that everyone there is clear, and maybe have a select few fans invited, like VIPs or something. But this one, that's the build up to 249 were making me think that that's how it was going to be. Then all of a sudden it's a normal venue, but obviously it's behind closed doors, no crowd.
Well, that's what they were saying, weren't they? They were saying when it was Tony and Khabib, that's what they were talking about. They were saying that it's going to be Fight Island. We've had this special place built for the fight, this and the other, because of certain sanctions and stuff, and they won't be able to fight and won't be able to do this, put this event on in the likes of New York or Vegas or wherever else because of the lockdown. Yeah. They're like, we're just gonna just build a stage on this some. I mean, who knows where that island even is?
I don't know.
but then it just got called off. And then when they put the next one on, I thought, okay, because Dana was saying all this, yeah, we're building it now, everything's being put in place. And then for him to go, actually, not so we are going to do the event, but it's going to be wherever it is. I don't even know where it is. Do you? I can't remember the name of it. Some centre somewhere in bloody. I can't remember. But yeah, it's. I mean, to be honest, this is probably going to be. It's the only live sport on at the moment. That there's nothing else on. So even people who are not like UFC fans are probably going to be tuning into this because. I want to call the fights with you because there's something. What I like about it is that because they've got to do all these fights now and they've had so many in line and they've all been cancelled. They've had to just bang them all into this one card. So let's start off with Cowboy versus Pettis because I think that's before the main card.
That's an interesting one. It really is.
It's for me.
I mean, Cowboy's obviously coming off a loss. Pettis is. I mean,
Cowboy's off 3 losses now.
Three losses on bounce, but you can never count Cowboy out because it's just. I mean, I think he still holds the record for the most UFC UFC
knockouts,
head kicks, and UFC fights as well. I think just in fights in general because when he were active, super active, there were nobody more active than Cowboy. His rest periods and his the amount of time he'd spend.
There is.
I don't think there is, mate. I don't think it's really don't. But Pettis, Showtime. I mean,
Showtime.
Do you remember that kick? Why they call him Showtime?
Of course. How can I not know? Like, I'm a UFC. I'm an MMA fan. Yeah, the Showtime kick, man. That was some fucking unbelievable shit off the cage. He's done some unreal stuff like that.
He's one of these fighters where you can. I mean, he's got the hands, he's got the legs as well, and he's got the ability to. I mean, he can do the spinning shit, which obviously the Diaz brothers will call it. But with Cowboy as well, he's got more of a. They both got a very, very good stand-up background. Cowboys come from a more standard kickboxing, Muay Thai background, and Pettis is more sort of karate based. He's got a background in, I think it's Kempo karate. He had his foundation in, which shows with a lot of his kicks, a lot of his style. None of them are real. I won't say any of them are more on the ground. They've probably both got enough to be able to get off the ground and back up to standing again. So I can see this being a standing fight.
Well, it was. Do you realise this is the second time they fought?
Yeah, and Pettis beat him before, didn't he?
Yeah, in the first round. So, but what I do think about that, this is what's interesting, is that I feel like back then, that's when Pettis was Showtime. Like, I don't feel that from him now. I mean, talking about on the ground, me and you was actually messaging each other, and the last fight he had, he got tapped, didn't he, by that Ferreira?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I mean, give it to Ferreira. He's a Brazilian, so to be expected, you know what I mean, on the ground. But at the same
BJJ is
time,
nasty, isn't it?
yeah, but we expected that, you know, somebody of his caliber, and I think the difference is now. So Pettis got him last time. He was fresh. He had that confidence. You know what I mean? He was a younger fighter. He was hungry. Cowboy's very much active all the time, and he seemed to have a little bit of a. I think at that point he was in the UFC, he was unbeaten or had only lost one fight in like 9 or something like that. So Pettis did still beat a good Cowboy, but then Cowboy had a bit of a dip, and then like I just said, he's lost 3 on the bounce. But look who he's lost to. He lost Conor last. I think it was Tony before that, and Tony didn't actually beat him as such. Yeah, he beat him up, but he blew his eye out, didn't he? He blew his nose, and his eye.
That's right. Yeah.
And then prior to that, it was Gagey, and we all know Gagey's a machine. So these are 3 top guys. Pettis is on two losses. Ferreira. Before that, it was Nate Diaz, and Nate's just a big guy, and he's just a fighter. He's got such a chin.
Just kept coming forward, didn't he? He just walked through walls to come forward.
Yeah. He'll take that. That's the thing with a fighter like that. But then I think, it's Cowboy. You know, Cowboy always takes a lot of shots, and it's a very interesting one, and it's hard to call, but if I have to give it, anything, I'm gonna slightly lean towards Cowboy and say a split decision. Yeah, okay. Split decision. I think it's gonna be really close. You know, but I just think because of the way Pettis has been recently, because when you look at it, like Cowboy's so much bigger. He's a much bigger guy. He was bigger when he lost in the first fight, but I just think Pettis just had a little bit more. I don't know if now
he's also bigger than Conor. Connor's Connor, but I mean, what I will say with Cowboy is, I think he's got to that stage, a fighter stage now, where I think his chin's gone.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not going to take much. If you hit him on the button, he's out of there, and all his game plan goes out of window. Everything goes out of window, and Pettis has got the precision to be able to hit him on that button from any angle.
That's right. And one thing that I will say about just picking up on what you said there is that when he fought Ferguson in that fight, that was a good fight, man. And Pettis hit him with some good shit. And then, again, thinking about it before that, he knocked out Wonderboy. And who's fucking knocked out Wonderboy?
Nobody. I'm gonna go with Pettis, mate. And I think it's gonna be. I'm going to go around, you know what I'm like when we rounds are called the rounds as well. So I'm going to go round 2, and I think it's going to be a flurry of punches and an head kick. And I know Cowboy's known for the head kick, but I think it's going to be a flurry of punches and a head kick from Pettis, and then Cowboy's going to fall.
He's going to have to retire. If he gets knocked out, if he gets done with 2 head kicks in a row, which is like his notorious move, because I was surprised when, everybody's thinking that, everybody was talking about that when he fought Conor about the head kick, and Conor went and head kicked him. It was like, shit.
Yeah. And I mean, a younger, fresher Cowboy would have probably just let that walk through it and gone for it. But again, I think his chin's waning, his chin's going, and it's just going to take a good flurry, a good few precision punches, maybe an head kick, and I think he's out of there, mate. So my money's on Pettis for that one.
I really think if you're right, and I think it's time for Cowboy to hang up his fucking boots, his cowboy boots.
I do.
How much shit? Do you know what I mean? Like he's still got quite a young. I think he's got a son, hasn't he? A young son.
Yeah, he brought him in the ring, didn't he? After Conor fight.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at it, and go, mate, how much time have I got here in this, and how many times I want to be getting kicked out before I end up like a cabbage. And I know it's a nasty, not a nice way of putting it, but this CTE is real, man. If you're getting your head banged about, and it's not something. You got a young kid, you got to think, 15 years or so when he's 18, 19, whatever, because he's only young. He's only like 3 years old or something. So
yeah. It's
Do you want to still be able to? Do you not want to be able to do stuff with your kid as they're older? You know, obviously he's fit enough now, he's still strong enough, but do you not want to be like going out, taking him out for his first beer and like having that kind of? But I can't wait for all that when my lad's old enough.
And he needs to be able to enjoy it. He don't want to be sat there shaking in corner, does he? With and not being able to string a sentence together and talk to his kid. And the thing is, nobody who knows MMA would begrudge Cowboy hanging his boots and that up now, because at the end of the day, he fights because he loves to fight. He just loves doing it. He enjoys the competition and he loves the sport. But like you said, your health and your well-being has to take precedent over the fact that you enjoy doing something. Find something else that you enjoy. I know he's a cave diver, isn't he? And he do something like that. That's less dangerous. That you're not going to get.
Cowboy. He's got plenty of shit he can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think there's three big things that you have to look at, and you can go, right. Does he need the money? No, I don't think he does anymore. Is he going to win a title? No, he's not. Let's face it. He's not going to win a title now. And do you want to prolong your life? And they're them three key things there. Is like, so yeah, you want to prolong your life. You don't need the money. You're not going to win a title. So what are you fighting for? You know, I suppose he loves it. Yeah. And that's where a lot of fighters seem to struggle, is because they can't let go of it. It's all they've ever known and stuff. But there comes a time when you've got to think about your family. Like, I'm surprised his wife isn't like, look, you got to stop this shit now.
I think he's one of them guys, though, when he does decide to hang it up and turn it in, he won't be one of these who comes back a few months later and, I'm out of retirement, I'm back. He'll be just...
Yeah, look at Chuck Liddell, man. He should never have had that fight with Tito.
I know. It was horrendous, wasn't it? I couldn't watch, mate. I watch him through my hand, you know what I mean? No. I don't like to see that with old legends, old champions. And when they've done the bit, just leave it. Leave it at that. Let your legacy be what the legacy was, which was that you're a legend. Don't come back and start. I mean, it was just like watching. It was like watching your dad try and throw. You know what I mean? We're like, what are you doing?
At that point, watching him, it was scary because I'm looking at that like Chuck Liddell. Like, if you're a proper UFC fan, Chuck Liddell's one of the best UFC fighters. He's in the top 5 in my opinion.
Wars, didn't he? He had some wars. Yeah.
Even I think I could have given him a good fight at that point.
You're looking at that, yeah. I mean, his kicks used to be crisp, didn't they? His punches were precision.
Yeah.
And it was like watching a completely different fight. It was like somebody else mimicking. It was just. But yeah, I don't want that for Cowboy. Just turn it in after this one. I think he's going out in round 2, and I think turn it in after that.
Turn it in, yeah, definitely. You're right, man. He's a Hall of Famer. Let's face it.
Definitely. Man.
This one for me, all right. I'm going to say it could be very boring. On paper, and when you look at, and I'm going to see if you know what I'm talking about just for saying this, but when you look at it from an outside perspective, you look at the guys, you look at the fighters and the records and what they've done, you think, wow, this is going to be a big fight. But I think it could also be a snooze fest. Do you know what I might be talking about?
You're not talking about Cruz and Henry Cejudo, are you?
No, I'm not.
All right.
I'm talking about Ngannou versus Rosenstruik.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, to be honest, I can see that Rosenstruik going to sleep. I mean, Ngannou, I watched some footage of him recently throwing some hands, and his boxing. When he first came into this sport, it was what were like? What were he like? It
was like a mine, some sand,
a miner,
some shit.
Yeah, like digging with his hands through like caves or something and throwing rubble about. And he just let this monster out, and he just had raw power, a bit like Wilder's power. But he had no real discernible skill. But
just pure power, like you say. Yeah,
just monstrous power. But he's actually stringing some good punch combinations together now. I've just watched him look crisp, look clean.
I think that's the first thing you can like, as far as when you talk about becoming an MMA fighter, complete fight. So UFC is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Let's explain for people that don't really know UFC. And what that meant is that they put an event on whereby you've got people from all different disciplines, whether it be wrestling, jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, karate, any of those disciplines. And that's why it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So they all came from these different backgrounds. It's like, let's see which discipline is the best and who can win. And obviously, I think because of what happened, it was a Gracie win. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. People didn't think that was good enough. People thought, I'm a wrestler and I can throw you back, I can hold you down because I'm strong. People thought, I'm a kickboxer, I'm just going to use my striking skills and all that. But actually, when these people were put on the ground and taught a serious lesson, That's where MMA came from, mixed martial arts. Those three letters there. People think mixed martial arts. A lot of people don't realize that that's what it is. It's the mixture, the combination of all these different styles, and that's why now I suppose it's getting to the point where you don't just get a wrestler anymore. Everybody, you can't get that because of the quality of the sport and how high level it is. You can't just come in and just have that one discipline. You have to have a little bit of everything.
You do, yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, you do get the odd. You'll get somebody whose core discipline will be wrestling. Let's say they've wrestled ever since the left.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've got to have some. There's always the core, like you say. It can be kickboxing or whatever, but you have to learn these other styles. Otherwise, you're going to get submitted or you're going to get knocked out.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, Ice Gracie. And do you know the story behind that?
Go on.
Well, obviously the Gracie family is one of the most famous martial arts families ever, really. I mean, Helio Gracie at the top, he was weak. He had no strength. He had no physical attributes. So he took judo and jiu-jitsu and he developed a style where you could use
their strength against themselves.
Their strength against themselves.
Yeah.
But when they used to do Gracie challenges in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and they used to just say, anybody come down to school and we'll fight you. Anybody, any fight, any discipline. So when the UFC were developed by the Gracies, that were a challenge for an American audience. They wanted to challenge American fighters, boxers, wrestlers, all your standard, like your jocks, that kind of thing. So instead of putting their best guy in to prove a point, they put the smallest, weakest of the whole of the Gracie family, who was Horace Gracie.
Right.
If you ask anybody who were the best in the Gracie family, they always say Hickson. Hickson Gracie was the absolute legend.
Yeah, sure.
And he were in the corner, but the person they put through, just to prove the point of how efficient Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, they put the weakest member of the family in against all those guys, and he went through the lot of them and won UFC 1.
Unbelievable story, really. And that's a wake-up thing, and that's what a lot of people don't like as well. People like all this excitement and people knocking the shit out of each other. I think it's a man thing. We like to see the battle and stuff, but there's a beauty in the jiu-jitsu. There's a beauty in what they're doing. Like you're saying, like if you can learn that right, and they devise that because not everybody is big and strong. It's genetics, and we're not. Some of us are quite small. Find it hard to put on weight or mass. And this is a perfect fit for anybody, really. And I think that's what's so great about it.
I think it's one of the best martial arts in the world. I really do.
Gotta be. And I literally fell into it. I mean, I did a bit of jiu-jitsu because my brother was doing it. But before that, before I even really knew martial arts, and it was just literally through the local community centre, I was doing judo, which was that was the adaptation.
Yep.
Jiu-jitsu was adapted from judo, as far as I'm aware. I fell into that and actually didn't realise like how great that was, and I didn't know the stories of the Graysons and stuff until I started getting into it as I was a bit older and started getting to my teens. But it's such a great sport and just a bit tough sometimes on rolling around on the mats and stuff like that, but great fun as well.
My first introduction to it was because my background with martial arts were Shotokan karate and then Muay Thai, always standing. There were never any, very, very rare, any kind of grappling or anything like that. Very rare. And then I went down to the local, what they call Fulinkizan MMA school in Bradford City Centre. And they had an MMA class on. In fact, no, it was actually listed. It was a Jeet Kune Do class on the schedule, on the timetable. Jeet Kune Do being the martial art that Bruce Lee came up. That's why I thought, I'm going to try that out. Freaking hell, someone's doing Jeet Kune Do in Bradford. I'm trying it out. Anyway, it gets there, and they'd messed up on timetable. It was MMA. So I thought, well, I'm here now. Let's crack on. Have you done anything before? Yeah, I've done Thai boxing before. I've done a bit of karate, blah, blah, blah. Right, okay, glove up, warm up, and we'll go for it. And they paired me up with a lad. It must have been, I probably at the time I'll have been about 27, 28. And this lad must have been 16, 17. He were actually from the jiu-jitsu side of the school, and he'd just trained in MMA every now and again. And I just remember bell going, him coming at me in this weird stance, me throwing a jab, him going under the jab, me going on my back, and then just being helpless for the next 2 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Not being able to get off my back, and then eventually being armbarred by this kid. And it was fucking embarrassing.
But it's not though, because it's a skill, and you've got to admire that. And exactly the same thing in reverse happened to me. So I went to what they called MMA class. So I'm in my 20s by this point, and all I can remember is my jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, okay, I want to get into do a bit of striking. I fancy this MMA stuff, and I went down to John Jepson Academy in Darley Abbey in Derby, and they put on this MMA class, and they stood me in front of what they called a blue belt kickboxer, which I don't even understand how belts work in kickboxing. I don't really feel like, I've never, that doesn't sit right with me, but whatever. So I'm like, okay, so this guy is obviously good at what he does. I don't really know striking. I started doing a bit of boxing later on in life. Like I say, prior to this, I wasn't doing no striking. I did judo, it's just a lot of throws and stuff, and I did jiu-jitsu where I knew some submission moves. So I'm stood there and like, shit, what am I going to do here in front of this guy? And I took him down. I was like, all I can do is take him down. I've got to avoid something. I don't want to go down quickly and get kicked in the head or something like that. So I came in, and probably a little bit like what you've seen, weird stance, like, but I managed to get him to the ground. And the first thing I did, I heel hooked him.
Nice.
Bam. Tapped straight away.
Nice.
I was like, oh, shit, yeah. And then we went again. Again, I tried to get him down. He was a big guy as well, much bigger than me. I would say he was about 18 stone. I'm 12 and a half stone at the time. It was a bit of a scramble, but he happened to land facing the opposite direction from me, and he was looking at the I'm going to say instructor, but that's not the right thing. It's a sensei. So I'm like, I've landed behind him, and I just literally stick him in a rear naked chokehold, and that's it. And the sensei is facing both of us, and I could just see this little smile on his face. And I've got this sense of satisfaction, like, yeah, I fucking done. And he's gone like, he's looked to say like, he's got you, like, he's got the right style to do you. So this guy says to me after that, oh, so you do some jiu-jitsu. It was nice enough. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's good about it, is that people aren't pissed off, like, oh, fuck, you beat me up.
Yeah.
No, it's not about it. You got to have respect, like, what you did there was awesome, and I need to learn from that now. I can't let that shit happen again.
And the fact is with that as well, when you're on your feet and you outstrike somebody or you outpoint them, that's one thing. But when you took that guy to the ground, got him in a rear naked choke, in a real life scenario, that's basically you saying, "I've just killed you. You've killed him. You if you wanted to there, you could have held that choke in, and that guy's gone. He's dead. He's off this mortal coil." That's the scary thing about it. You've got that power. It's like having a superpower in a way.
Yeah, it is. It's mad. I have used it a couple of times in the past, and I'm not going to go too far anyway. Sometimes it's been fucking about, and sometimes it's helped me. I mean, I stuck a kid in an arm, but I remember me and my cousin Dickie, your cousin Dickie.
Yeah.
So as we talked about at the beginning, we've got a mutual cousin. He's called Richard. Bit unfortunate for him, we call him Dickie, and he hates that now.
Little Dickie.
Now we're adults. He absolutely hates it. But you know what Dickie's like? He's a tough lad.
He is. He's a scrapper.
He's grown. Yeah, he's grown up. He's grown up like that, and he's just a proper scrapper, like you say. But we went to Butlins, right? Skegness Butlins or Inglemells, and there's this group of lads, and me and Dickie are walking around Cockshaw, like we don't give a fuck. We're the men, we're
covered in Lynx Africa.
40, covered in Lynx Africa. 14, 15-year-old. Thought was the dog. I had fucking bleach blonde streaks in my hair, thinking I was Eminem. I used to get called Stan at school. And literally these big group of lads are weighing us up, checking it out. But we're fronting it like, don't give a fuck, Yeah. And then Dickie goes, yeah, he's fucking black belt jiu-jitsu, mate. And I'm like, dickhead, I'm a white belt. And he's like, yeah, what we're going to do.
It's on.
And he came up, right, and he went to throw this punch, and I moved. I grabbed his arm, grabbed his wrist, turned him, put him in a wrist lock, and I started slapping him on the back of the head. I was like, what are you going to fucking do? It's like you can't put resistance against a wrist lock.
Yeah.
Slapping him on the back of the head. And he was like, please, let go. I was like, get up. I was saying, get up. He can't obviously get up. You can't move from that position. You try and get up. you're putting more resistance
Yep,
on yourself, and
exactly.
that's the exact thing we talked about the Gracies and what they did, like using that power against themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, we instantly just became like the men. Then it was like, oh yeah, these guys are sorted. It was all like that, and we loved it. And I got lucky. Like the guy could have caught me right, and I'd have gone down. But luckily, I managed to see it. It was a shit punch, to be honest. But I'm not going to big myself up. But it was the way, yeah, he's black belt jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, no,
I'm picturing some sort of like Steven Seagal moment there, where you just like he's on ground screaming in seconds.
Kind of like that, and I've done it. It's happened a couple of times, like natural instinct. I've got. I should get back into it, man. I haven't done it for so long.
I have caught somebody in two submissions in my whole life. Now, one were like a modified guillotine choke, and it were at. In fact, this were at Ford or I can't remember now where I was. I were at a dealership and one at Valet as one of these steadheads. You know what I mean? It were always taking that. Remember that NO Explode, that pre-workout?
Yeah, I tried that shit, man. That pink stuff.
Now, yeah, you can't sleep for 2 weeks when you have it.
Nitric oxide.
It took that throughout the day, and it'd have his shirt off, with a valeter, so it would always get him. It was just a fucking nutcase. Anyway, we were on about, oh, you do this and that, don't you? I used to do kickboxing, blah blah blah. And we were just messing about, and there were loads of parts boxes behind us, and he just literally flew at me and double legged me. I'm walking flying through the air into these parts boxes, like loads of different car parts and stuff like that. But luckily, we were all in cardboard boxes. Smashed into it. But as we were flying through air, I managed to sink my wrist perfectly under his neck, into like a guillotine choke. As we landed, he landed in my choke. And naturally, I just wrapped my legs over his back, crossed him. So I had him trapped so I couldn't get up. And I had him. And I said, you know what this means, don't you? I said, if I wanted to, I could choke you completely unconscious now. He's like, get off. And as he got up, his face was bright red, and I thought, this is it now. He's going to go full fucking Hulk mode on me. But he just backed off, and he went, fair enough, you know what I mean? Backed off, and that were sort of diffused. He thought, yeah, the kid's got some skills.
It's amazing though when you do something like that, because people don't expect that. If you punch somebody back, if he ran at you and you punched him and he stood up, he'd go, "No, fuck, I'm going to hit this guy. I'm not knocked down or whatever."
Yeah.
But because you did that to him, it's an element of skill involved. Anyway, let's not digress. Let's go back to it. And
we got a bit way off there, didn't we?
Yeah, 20 minutes of like bigging ourselves up at being fucking jiu-jitsu and whatever experts. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one anyway. I'm going to say Ngannou gets it done. Both big hitters, but when you look at Rosenstrike, he's not fought anybody major apart from Overeem, who's massively past it.
That I tell you what, that's the closest I've ever seen someone's head detaching off the body. Only other time I've seen
But you're talking about Ngannou knocking Overeem.
Oh, sorry, it was Ngannou, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Ngannou. Yeah.
Well, both of them. So Ngannou about knocked his head off.
Yeah.
And Rosenstrike split his lip open. His lip was hanging off. He's not had a good time of it as Overeem, has he? Jesus Christ, man. I mean, Overeem was amazing, like K1 days and everything like that. Amazing.
It wasn't best kickboxer I've ever seen, but he just pushed it. I mean, the Overeem on the Mexican meat is somewhat different. That's a different specimen, isn't it? But yeah, Ngannou nearly literally detached his head from his shoulders with that uppercut, didn't he?
Yeah, that was nasty. Yeah. Nasty. But then the thing is, so then when you compare that to what Rosenstrike did, Rosenstrike split his lip and half his face was hanging off. But Overeem was beating him every round. And I think there was 10 seconds to go, and then he just caught him with that big punch. Yeah. Both of these guys are putting people's lights out. But what worries me is that Ngannou goes in and fights him like he fought Derek Lewis.
Oh, that was one of the most boring fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, proper snooze fest. And that's what bothers me. I mean, I hope both guys go in I think not holding back at all, because, and like you said, I think Ngannou can put him to sleep because he's got fast hands for a big guy. So he's not just got power, he's got speed. And for a heavyweight, you don't see that very often. No,
you don't. It's rare, and someone's getting knocked the fuck out. I'm telling you now. That's not going.
That does not go.
Yeah, I don't know. I've no idea who. I couldn't call that one, but someone's going to sleep, mate. Somebody's going to sleep.
I feel like Ngannou's got to win that. I just feel like at some point in the next year, 2 years, Ngannou's got to be the heavyweight champion. Got to be. He got, with the Stipe, he had his chance. came too early for him because obviously talking about what we're saying, like I think within 5 years, 6 years, he's sort of gone from being a guy who was just living this normal life and well, not even a normal life, a tough life, being this fucking mining sand with his own shovels of hands and stuff to, to becoming fighter in the UFC. And we're not talking about just becoming a fighter. We're talking about in the elite. In the elite fighting, it's not like he's just doing some local events now. He's fighting within that space of time. That's unbelievable. But going back to what we said, like I think the boxing side of it is the more natural. The striking is the first thing you can learn.
Yeah.
And what he hadn't learned is his wrestling.
Yeah.
He hadn't learned any jiu-jitsu or anything like that. So when Stipe managed to like weather that storm, because he did catch him, and he catches everybody in Ngannou. But Stipe managed to get past that, and he weighed him down. He wrestled him, and he kept him on the floor. He tired him out. He didn't know what to do. He looked like it was like a rabbit in the headlights. Like, oh shit, what do I do? I've never.
We've seen it so many times before, haven't we?
Unknown waters.
Yeah. Striker versus grappler. They always, if you can control when the fight goes to the ground, you've won the fight.
I mean, yeah. Look at the likes of Khabib, man, just dominating there. So, and that was a difference. But I think, he's probably worked a lot more on his cardio because that was against him. He's probably working on takedown defense, that kind of stuff. So that doesn't happen again. I think he's going to come to the point. Look, Stipe is getting old. DC is getting old. Them guys are going to retire. Who else is there in that division? I think Ngannou has to be champion one day. Get through Rosenstrike, and he definitely deserves a title shot.
Definitely. All he needs is, I won't even get him bogged down in complicated submissions and shit like that. He needs to be just teaching some really good anti-wrestling and some anti-jiu-jitsu. So how to get back, how to get off your back, stand up again, and get back to that position where you can throw those bombs again. That's all he needs to learn. I mean, a good example is like who we talked about earlier were Chuck Liddell. He had the best anti-takedown you've ever seen. You could take him down and spring back up straight away. He needs to have that in his game plan, and then he's unbeatable.
And I think that's the same. I think the likes of Stylebender, I don't think he's that bothered about his wrestling and that, but he's got what you just said there. He's got that takedown defense. So when he's down, he manages to bounce back up. So people are always going, he's a striker, but what's he like on the ground?
Doesn't matter.
You try fucking put him on the ground.
Matter.
You put him on the ground.
If you can get back up out of any position, who cares what you like on the fucking ground? You can't keep him down, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
No. Now I'm going to go quickly to the next one. I don't want to talk too much about it. I just want an answer, and I want a round. Cruz and Cejudo.
Oh, I tell you, that's an interesting fight. I mean, for me, Cruz is an absolute legend. The way he moves, I don't think there's any other MMA fighter who can move like Cruz. I mean, the amount of fucking injuries he's had over years, he's probably got. I don't know if he's even been rebuilt or what, like Terminated or something. But the time when I seen him, the first time I seen him, and the only person I can sort of measure him up to is, have you seen Vasyl Lomachenko, the boxer?
Yeah, of course I have.
You see how he cuts angles? Yeah. Cruz does that.
Different.
No.
Cruz moves so weird though. Like at least Lomachenko's his movement is a certain way. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but Cruz it's his leg. His legs are not moving like a boxer, like the way.
No, his stance is too wide for a boxer, but he does it. He still uses it. It's deceiving. He's still using the same angle cutting as Lomachenko, but he's doing it in a wider stance, and he's the reason why is obviously he's preparing for the takedown as well, so you have to have a wider stance. But he's one of the, I think for movement wise and evasive footwork, he's one of the best I've ever seen in MMA, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. And if that Cruz turns up to that fight, he's gonna dominate, and he really will.
I said the same thing. I said exactly the same thing. I think the Cruz of old can win this fight
if he turns up.
I'm not a fan of Cejudo. If I'm
not
genuinely honest. Obviously, his wrestling is off the charts, and that's what's going to pay dividends. But it's kind of weird because you don't know, because I don't even know when the last time Cruz fought, like 2-3 years ago. Or
yeah, it's got to be 3 years ago. Got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a commentator for the last 3 years, hasn't he?
Beat the likes, but he's beat the likes of Uriah Faber, who's actually come back and won and then lost again. But whatever, Uriah Faber back then was an absolute beast. Yeah. And if he does come back, and he did say that thing about ring rust, because I think he came back after 2 years before and beat Uriah Faber.
Well,
but he's not got that knockout.
He's
power.
not. No.
So it depends. Yeah, it depends how Cejudo approaches his fight. Is he going to just jump in, smother him, get him down quick, and throw some punches and beat him like he beat Dillashaw?
He has to do that. He has to do that. If he lets him, if we're saying the Cruz of old turns up with a footwork, he's got to shut that down straight away, get an hold of him and stop him from being able to move. Now, when you talk about ring rust with Cruz, it doesn't apply because he's had that many injuries in the past and he's had that many layoffs. Everybody always said when he's coming back, but he's been off for so long, he's got ring rust. And he never had ring rust. He never had it.
Yeah. And he actually said that himself. There's no such thing. So, and I think that's a good mentality to have as well. You can talk yourself into that negative sort of mindset. Go, oh, yeah, man, I might have a bit of ring rust, but he believes that in a thing. So that's not going to be a problem to him. Cardio might be a problem. The chin might be a problem. If you're not getting hit enough in all this time, oh shit, you get hit. But then Cejudo is not notorious for his knockout power, but neither is Cruz, and that's what's interesting about it. But I'm going to back Cruz.
I think
just based on Cruz.
For me, 20 years ago, I think he was basically 20 years. He was 20 years ahead of his time 10 years ago. So he's still ahead of his time now. And when you get a fighter like that, if he's healthy and he's not injury prone, if he's healthy now and he can come in and move, he's going to embarrass him. It really is. He's going to embarrass him.
Good. So we're on the same lines with a couple of them. I could have been wrong when I said about Cowboy earlier, but it's nice to have that difference of opinion. So let's get to the main event. Let's get to Ferguson versus Gaethje before we go into this quiz.
I mean, Ferguson is just a weird guy. He's fantastic, don't get me wrong, and he's a dangerous fighter. I've heard that he's made weight just for the fucking sake of making weight. Which is that's weird. Like, because so 2 weeks ago he's got to 155 and then he's going to blow up again. Now he's going to get back down to 155. It's sadistic.
Is that detrimental?
It's almost to say to, I can't say his name, Gadja. It's almost to say, I'll just call him Gadja. It's almost to say to Gadja, you know what? I'm doing this just because I fucking can. Do you know what I mean? And he's doing it just to taunt him, just to say, look, this is what I can do. And I don't need to do it, but I'm just going to fucking do it anyway.
But he said it's that tough when he posted his Instagram picture about him getting down to weight, and he was like, it's that tough mentality, TUF, not being tough, the ultimate fighter, because that's the background he came from. With that, it's almost like amateur fighting where, you'll be doing a lot of fights in a short period of time. You don't get 6 to 12 months between fights. You're literally getting down to weight for the fight. You have the fight. 2 weeks later, you've got another fight. So you've got to keep doing that. So to Ferguson, it's probably quite normal.
Yeah, probably, mate. Yeah.
But as he's getting older, I just feel like, you're risking things there. But, I mean, unbeaten in, 8 years?
Is it 8 years?
I think it's something crazy like that. He's not lost a fight. His last fight he lost was against Michael Johnson.
Right, okay. I mean, he's out there at the moment, other than Khabib. I think he's the best. He's got. I mean, his clinch and elbow game is absolutely fantastic. That dirty boxing in close, but also a lot of people don't rate him enough. I don't think on the ground because he comes from 10th Planet with Eddie Bravo with those Darce chokes and those nasty submissions. So
them Darce chokes are mad.
Even if you have got him on his back, fuck, you better be good. You better have some good ground and pound because he's going to probably make a mess of you with his elbows from his back and then submit you.
Well, that's what he does. That's why I really wanted to see the Khabib fight. Khabib's going to put him down. Khabib's going to get you down. It doesn't matter. You can't do 5 rounds with Khabib.
No, you're going down. You're going down. But what he would have done to Khabib off his back.
He's the most comfortable person off his back. There's nobody in the game that can fight off his back like Ferguson. And you've seen what he's done to his last 8 opponents. They all come out looking like broken.
They do, like they've had an argument with a butcher. But I tell you, the one thing I will say though with Gadja, it reminds me. He's got a wrestling background, but he's got that. He's one of these. He's come into it again, like we were talking about. You have to have that core discipline. He's obviously got the wrestling, but his core discipline. But it reminds me a lot of. Do you remember Dan Henderson?
Oh yeah. Dan Henderson.
Oh yeah, legend. Came into the MMA world as a pure wrestler, but found out that he had this dynamite in his hands. Now. The reason why is because he never feared anybody taking him down, so he could take that big risk. He could swing from the fences. Take me down if you want. I'll get back up. I'm a wrestler. Gadja's got that same mentality. And he's got that reckless power. Because he knows you can take me down, but I'll get back up. And he's found that dynamite in his hand, and he's got that knockout power.
I love the gadget. It's just engagey, man. But yeah, and that's the mad thing though. Everybody says like, how do we like? He could actually be bullshitting everybody and be like, yeah, I'm a fucking top wrestler because we've never actually seen him.
Nobody gives a shit.
He's never wrestles. Never wrestles. Just goes in there, and I think that's the thing is he puts his chin out there like it's gonna be a crazy fight. Crazy fight. It's hard to call. I mean, I've got to go with Ferguson just because who Ferguson is. I mean, did Gagey beat Cowboy?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do some MMA maths. Ferguson beat Cowboy. Gagey got beat by Eddie.
You're testing my. I've far too many beers. Don't like to remember names in them.
Eddie.
Alvarez.
I can't remember his name. It's gone Alvarez. That's right. So Alvarez beat Gagey when it came to like a heart. I think that's what it was. I mean, them two stood trading punches, and I think Ferguson's just got that. I mean, they're both like that. But I've seen Gagey go down, where I've seen Ferguson come back. Look, remember when Patisse was on top of Ferguson? He was hitting him with some big shots, and he'd had a bit of time off. Ferguson's just got this different mentality, man. Have you seen his videos where he's like kicking fucking steel posts?
Yeah, like kicking a bamboo tree in half, and then next minute he's doing like Wing Chun on a fucking.
It's like Van Damme.
It is, yeah. He's one of the strangest guys I've ever seen train. I've never seen anybody train like that. Yeah.
But the weird thing is, like, he doesn't even spar.
No, that's another thing as well. It's like a lot of people say, well, if you don't spar, you're not fine tuning those motor skills required for this, that, and the other. It's a load of bullshit. He's a naturally gifted guy. He don't need to spar. He knows if you take excess damage, you've got more chance of getting injured and you're going to fight less. So I think some fight camps with a lot of sparring do suit some fighters. Definitely don't suit somebody like him. Who's going to spar with him taking elbows all day? You know what I mean? While he's doing somersaults in your face, trying to do flying elbows. No one's going to spar with that nutter. I'm not surprised he don't spar. I know who the fuck's going to spar with him.
Yeah, it's very true. Go on then. What's
it's Ferguson. He will get taken down because I think this is the first time you're ever going to see Gadgets wrestling. He ain't knocking Ferguson out, mate. He's too wiry. He's not knocking him out. I think he probably will end up on his back. He'll do some slicing and dicing, and he'll mess his face up and then probably submit him.
Okay, yeah, I like it, and I think that I'm going to go with it. I don't really want to say. I know that it's going to be messy. I know that he's going to get sliced open, and both of them are probably going to come out of it looking a bit of a mess because they're both just them kind of fighters. Yeah. They just go for it, leave it all out there on the line. But I think that's where Gage's downfall is. I think he wants to entertain, just wants to go and throw them big punches, like say, throwing from the bleachers. Yeah. It's a little bit wild when you actually look at it. I think Tony's more calculated than Gagey. And I think that's where the elbows, and then Gagey might get desperate and put him down, but Ferguson can deal with that, and he's happy to be there on his back. So
he's happy to be there.
And I want Ferguson to win, if I'm truly honest, because I want this Khabib fight to happen. So yeah, I think that sums up the fights. Let's move on. Let's finish this off with a quiz.
Oh shit!
You get a minute to answer as many questions correct as possible.
Do I pass if I don't know?
Yes, that's the best way of doing it.
Pass.
Because what I've had in the past is people going, shit, and you've lost 15 seconds. Right. You're better off just going pass, and then we crack on. I'll tell you now that the top score is 6. There's 2 people joint on 6.
Yeah,
it's a tough one to beat, but let's see how you get on.
Yeah,
you ready? I'm gonna start the clock. In which county is Leeds Castle?
Yorkshire.
What is the collective name for a group of dolphins?
Pass.
Which celebrity chef wrote an autobiography called Devil in the Kitchen?
Gordon Ramsay.
Which element is said to keep bones strong?
Calcium.
What is the national dish of Spain?
Paella.
Tripoli is the capital city of which North African country?
So you broke up there, mate. I didn't get that one.
Tripoli is the capital city of which North African country?
Gaddafi's place, isn't it? Gaddafi's. Pass, can't remember.
as of 2016, which was the most widely circulated newspaper in the UK?
The Sun.
Bannock, chapati, and panettone are types of what?
Bread.
Who was responsible? I'm going to finish this because I broke up. Who was responsible for killing Harry Potter's parents?
Oh, it's what Voldemort or something. Voldemort. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's go through them. These were some tough questions, man, and especially the first one threw you off. In which English county is Leeds Castle? It's actually in Kent.
The fuck's it doing down there? They built it in the wrong place.
Yeah, I know. What is a collective name for a group of dolphins? A pod.
Oh, yeah, pod. Fucking pod.
Which celebrity chef wrote an autobiography called Devil in the Kitchen? Another one that throws you. It was Marco Pierre White. It was actually
right.
Gordon Ramsay.
He taught Gordon Ramsay, didn't he?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay was his. Yeah, he was his protege, if you like. And then you started to pick up. So, which element is said to keep bones strong? It's calcium, correct? National dish of Spain. And yeah, I like you even said paella, and not paella. So, I mean, I should give you 2 points for that, but I can't. I'm afraid it's one of them things. Yeah, bannock, chapati, and panettone types of what? You said bread, correct. Tripoli is the capital city of which North African country? And you had it on the tip of your tongue, man.
Gaddafi got taken down there and everything. I'm just give me Libya. Fucking hell. Yeah, Libya.
As of 2016, which was most widely circulated newspaper in the UK, The Sun, you got that correct.
Oh, just a complete guess, that, man.
And who was responsible for killing Harry Potter's parents? Lord Voldemort. You got that correct too. So you got 5 in total. That was a pretty good effort, man. And I tell you, there was some hard questions.
There were hard questions, man.
I've put all these questions together for everybody, and it's just what comes out. You know what I mean? It's just completely random how the sort of you didn't even get a single sports question. And most people who hate sports, they get like 2 or 3 sports questions.
Look at the drop, isn't it?
It's one of them. It is. But you did well, man. And I probably wouldn't have got any of them. I'm just looking through them now. I'm going to say I'd have got Voldemort. That's about it. Maybe bread, chapati. You know what I mean? I've got to know chapati's the type of bread. And that's about it. Yeah. So that was a tough one, man. You did really well there. So,
nice one.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. I want to. Let's put your social media, your website out there. Let people know what that is.
All the W's, electricmotionlimited.co.uk. That's the website. You can drop us a line at contact@electricmotionlimited. And I think the Instagram's Tim_Ahad.
Nice one. So I'll put that in the bio of this podcast anyway. So yeah, if you've got your electric car, if you're all set for your Tesla and you want to get a charging point in, Tim's your man. Is the Bradfordian Elon Musk is making the world better. Piece by piece, we'll make it through. We'll be a better race.
Get there, man. We'll get there.
All right, Tim. It's been awesome having you on, man. Thank you for doing this.
It's been I've enjoyed it. I have. We'll definitely do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And well, look, I'm going to put a series finale together. It might be in 2 parts because the amount of people I've got. So you're welcome back for that.
Nice one, cuz. Take it easy.